Part 8, The Resurrection of Jesus and Subsequent Events, 40 days from April 9th to May 19th, 30 of the Common Era is the year they're listing. And this would be chapter 41, right? 1. It was a remarkable Sabbath. The crucified men had been removed, Jesus had been buried, the temple worship had been resumed, going forward as it had gone for several centuries, and the church party would fain have had everything move on as if nothing had happened. But a great storm had swept the popular mind. Pilate must have been moody and disturbed. The disciples of Jesus could have had little heart for the temple services. They loved the buried Jesus, and although all their hopes of him and much of their faith in his sagacity must have disappeared, their hearts were buried in the new sepulchre of Joseph of Arimathea. Now, Al-Quran Surah 3, 144 addresses the sort of fanaticism of people who are going to turn once the teacher dies, because it's not about the teacher, whether he's dead or killed. Is the message still valid? The message is still valid. Go for it. The priests had two things to trouble them. There was the rent veil of the temple. In the dying agony of Jesus had come a convulsion which had torn that veil from top to bottom and laid the holiest of holies open. Well, no Roman or Jewish or other record records such things. That must have been an appalling sight. His body might be removed from the sepulchre, and thus faith in his resurrection be encouraged. That was an anxiety. Moreover, these politicians recollected what his disciples had forgotten, his own prophecy of his resurrection. Their recollections of his prophecies were accurate, and they supposed his disciples were as cunning as themselves, and they knew what they would do under similar circumstances. That was the second trouble. When the Sabbath was past, the chief priests and Pharisees went to Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember that the deceiver said, while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again." So that would be the end of Monday. Command, therefore, that the sepulchre be made secure until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say unto the people that he is risen from the dead. And so the last deceit be made worse than the first. So, Saturday night, because only one biblical day would have been completed, Pilate could have been in no sweet mood, but there was no reason why he should not grant the request. He had been forced by them to consent to the death of the young teacher. He might as well yield this also. He cared nothing for the result, and could have taken no interest in the predictions of a man whom he regarded as a harmless and unfortunate fanatic. Well, was that what he said? If he was a seditious zealot, he would have been all for the death, right? He was cross. Yes, they shall have a guard. These mad priests who are frightened by a dead peasant. If it gratifies them to make fools of themselves, they may do so. He will not hinder. He said to them, "Ye shall have a watch. Go your way. Make it as sure as you can." So they went and made the tomb secure, rolling up a stone to its mouth and sealing it. The Roman guard took possession of the sepulchre. In the meantime, Mary of Magdala and the other women, knowing that the burial of Jesus by Joseph and Nicodemus had been hurried, although decent, had gone out on Saturday evening, the Sabbath being past, and had procured sweet spices, and were waiting anxiously for the morning which should follow the Sabbath, that they might go and anoint the precious body, performing love's last offices before Jesus should be left, as they supposed, to lie forever in that grave. the idea that they would dig up the bodies and have bone boxes and stuff like this. So going back to anoint the dead body after the funeral and it's been put in the grave. Okay, that's not too odd sounding, right? They knew nothing of the government seal on the tomb and nothing of the Roman guard. They knew that there was a great stone at the mouth of the sepulchre. As at earliest dawn they approached the garden, they questioned how they should remove the stone so as to proceed with the embalming. Then they felt a preternatural shaking of the ground beneath their feet. Then as they looked towards the sepulchre, there was a preternatural light. There had been an earthquake. The stone had been thrown down. An apparition as of an angel sat on the stone. His appearance had so frightened the Roman guard that they had fallen like dead men. Jesus had disappeared from the tomb. The guard had not seen him. The great stone had not detained him. His earliest biographers give no intimation of the resurrection. You think that would be the biggest miracle of all, right? He will be dead for 3 days, but not even 48 hours, and somehow the prophecy is fulfilled?